Good morning and welcome to Coffee and the Word. Today is Monday and I think you probably need some Monday morning encouragement. I know I did this morning. I woke up, did not want to get out of bed. I'm sure a lot of you have the Monday morning blues, so let me encourage you this morning. I titled today's lesson, No Excuses. And basically, but I'm not good enough is actually the title. But the story comes from, or the idea or the concept comes from a guy named Moses. And we've been talking about Moses. Remember, Moses was the one who was born in a very difficult circumstance. His mom and his sister had to hide him so that he wouldn't get caught up in the killing of the Jewish babies, boy babies, and then he ends up in Pharaoh's house. Well, he's fled Pharaoh's house, and we'll talk about that story another day because, well, I want to encourage you this morning. And so he is outside and he's running around taking care of the animals out in the field, doing his thing, right? And he's just minding his own business. He's left his past behind him and he's just doing, what he wants to do. He wanted to just live a simple life. And so he's out in a field and this bush catches on fire but isn't burning up. Now, I'm just going to tell you that I firmly believe that if I see a bush on fire in the woods and it's not burning up, I'm going to check it out. I got to know what's going on. However, he gets to the bush and the bush begins to talk. It's actually not the bush, it's the voice of God through the bush, and he tells him to come closer, take off his sandals. And then I want you to listen to a couple of things. There is, in verse 7, the Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and bring them up out of the land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. And so I want you to play this scene out, right? Because I know that there's a lot of people who show up on Sundays to churches and they're defeated and they feel like they just can't do anything. They feel like they've let God and their fellow man down. They feel like they just don't feel like they can be used. They don't feel like God's using them. And then the preacher guy gets up there and he preaches a sermon that says we ought to be out there doing things. And I'm just not, I'm glad that God sees what's going on in the world today. And I want him to fix it. I want him to fix it. And so I'm sure that when Moses is listening to this, he's like, good. Oh, that's awesome. Wow. God, thanks for sharing this with me. Like, I'm excited about what you're going to be doing for the children of Israel because I was there. I know the oppression that they're in. I was in Pharaoh's house, and I would really, really like it if somebody would fix this problem. Like, this would be a wonderful thing. God, you're such a good God. And then he gets to the part, right? He says, go. I am sending you. Wait. What? I really liked the idea when you were the one doing everything. I don't know that I want you doing everything using me, right? I'd rather you find a different way. In fact, here's what Moses says. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? Who am I to be the one to go do this? God, I think you made a mistake. I think you picked the wrong guy. I've known people who would be good for this job. I'm not that guy. I've known people who should be doing this job. I'm not me. No, God. I think what you really need to do is go find somebody that's good. In fact, listen to what he says later. He says, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God your fathers has sent me, and they ask me, well, what's his name? I don't even really know who you are. I mean, I know of you, I've heard of you, but how am I going to, they're not going to listen to me. They don't even like me. Like, the Egyptians don't like me, the Israelites don't like, nobody really likes me. So who am I going to tell them is sending me? I don't know what, look, I really think you picked the wrong guy. Maybe you just thought, hey, I'll grab the first guy that comes along, but you didn't realize that I wasn't that guy. And so here's my encouragement to you. And we'll get to the rest in just a minute, but I want you to understand that God has a plan for you to do something greater than you're doing, most likely. Many of us are walking around tending sheep when God wants us to go and win souls. Many of us are walking around tending sheep when God wants us to go and serve. Many are tending sheep when God wants us to go stand for the oppressed. Many of us are tending sheep when God wants us to do something else. And he's given us that message over and over, and we've heard it, and we've listened, and we felt convicted, and then we feel condemned, but we've got all the excuses. We've got all the reasons why I'm not the right guy. And to be honest with you, there's nothing in Moses' pedigree that says he's the guy. I mean, he stood up for his Israelite brethren, which we'll talk about later, but he stood up for them and killed an Egyptian. Like, he seemed like a brave guy, but then he flees. And he runs off and he forgets about his people. Moses doesn't seem like that guy, but God says you are that guy. And I've often heard people ask, what would have happened if Moses had declined? And some people say he'd have found somebody else. And maybe that's true. But it seems to me like while Moses has a choice, he has a choice in the sense that God's going to make sure he chooses right, if that makes sense. So let's read the rest and then we'll break it down a little bit. And it says, here's what he says, but Moses says, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites? And God said, I will be with you, and this will be a sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. And then Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your forefathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I say to them? And Moses said, God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation. So go assemble the elders of Israel and say to them, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob appeared to me and said, I have watched over you, and I have seen what has been done to you in Egypt, and I have promised to bring you up out of the misery in Egypt into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. The elders of Israel will listen to you. Then you and the elders are to go to the king of Egypt and say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand compels him. So I will stretch out my hand. And so I want you to understand that Moses isn't done with excuses, but I'm going to finish with this. Listen to what God says. And this is what he's saying to you. Whatever he's called you out to do, he says this to you, and I will be with you. I will be with you. I will convince Pharaoh. I'm just using you. I'm the active force in the process. I don't need you to be great because I'm great. And I will use you for great things. I hope that today you decide that you want to go on the great journey God is calling you to. And maybe some of you are like, I don't really feel like God's calling me to anything. Maybe that's something we need to talk more about. Because I do believe God is calling us to be active participants in the building of his kingdom here on this earth. We are the ones who are supposed to be part of the process of your kingdom come, your will be done. And so I hope you'll take an active role in that process. I hope as you watch these Coffee and the Words and you think about Moses and you think about all the reasons. Moses even goes on to say, I can't talk well. Yeah, I've heard that one too. And God says, that's okay. I'll give you Aaron. He'll talk. You be my mouthpiece. And of course, we find out later Moses does just fine talking. You're capable of more than you believe, and God knows what you're capable of. Maybe it's time we get on the journey God has called us all to. Hope you've enjoyed today. I hope today is a wonderful beginning of a new week and a new life in which you are walking in the promises and the provisions and the purpose God has for you. This has been another edition of Coffee and the Word.